I've been enjoying a little springtime this last week. I hope you have too. We've been talking about some of that on the podcast. And today, Friday, one of my favorite Fridays of the year, it's Masters Friday. If you live down here in Georgia, you know that the big golf tournament's going on this weekend. And so I'm off today. I'm recording a little content, but I'm going to spend some time watching the golf tournament this weekend. It'll be a lot of fun, I hope. We'll see who wins. Should be some exciting stuff. The pollen's everywhere, almost gone, I'm hoping, down here in Georgia. I got a buddy of mine who lives, he's got a place up in Wisconsin. He sent me pictures of snow a couple of days ago up there. So for those of you who are listening, if you're up north, I'm sorry you have chosen to live up there. Things are pretty good down here, but we're dealing with the yellow snow here with pollen this week. But we're still trying to win at life. It's Friday. We always talk about that. And today, I'm going to follow a little bit up on what I did last week. We talked about a passage actually from the Bible that I've been reading. I've shared with you before that I love to read the Bible. And I think there's so much great stuff just for our life, which is what we're talking about today, but really our leadership, all the things that we got going on. There's so many great principles there that have stood the test of time. And I've been reading this little book. I guess it's a letter toward the end of the New Testament called James. It was written by the brother of Jesus, James, who was the earthly brother of Jesus, I should say. And I'm just gonna share some words I think will help us today, because he warns us in a couple of places not to be deceived. And so I'm guessing some of us are walking in deception right now. We're going to find out here in the next few minutes. Welcome to Chasing Greatness, the place where we try to help you win at work on Mondays, win at life on Fridays. And then we did talk about winning at home on Wednesday, so let's don't skip that one. That's important. But let's jump back into this now. I'll just give you a little reminder. Last week, I started out just a couple of verses out of the first chapter of James, where it talks about these people who are scattered. They've been persecuted. They've been, their circumstances are really bad. And some of you are facing challenging circumstances right now. If you didn't get a chance to listen to that last week, I think there'll be some things there that will be helpful to you. I love the feedback. I got some comments from people saying that, man, this was so good, so inspirational. And every time I read the Bible, it always inspires me as well. And so hopefully this will help you. Now, you may not be a Bible reader. You may not be familiar with the Bible at all. I think you'll hear some things today that still will resonate, because I believe this really is very relevant to all of us. But here's what it says in James, the first chapter, verse 16. And I think this is a great reminder. We're doing this Bible stuff these next couple of weeks because we're coming into Easter. And I think this is an important time of year for us to focus a little bit on truth here. And so here's what it says in chapter 1, verse 16 of James. It says, don't be deceived. There's that word, deceived. Don't be deceived. Some of us are walking around in deception. And here's how I know that, because here's what he says. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above. Now, I don't know how much time you spend thinking about where you're good and stuff. You may feel like you got some perfect stuff in your life, and I don't know where you think that comes from. And I think sometimes we fool ourselves into thinking that we're the one that created all that. We're the one that earned all that. We're the one that went out and worked and got the money, or we're the one that we accomplished, we had the achievement, we did the project. That's true. All those things are true. But all that opportunity we have, the opportunity we have to steward our lives and to really even have life itself, it comes from above. It's what it says here in the Bible. It came from the Father above. And here's what it says. I love this. It says, who does not change like shifting shadows. Now, in the South here right now, we've got thunderstorms going around the last couple of weeks, and there's clouds and the shadows on the trees, and you get outside and the sun's shining one minute and the next minute it's not. And it's just, everything seems to be, the weather's been very unstable. And yet it's reminding us here that God is not that way. God is always consistent. Now, our circumstances are not always consistent. They're not always like we want them to be. We talked about that last week again. But the cool thing is that God actually, when he created us. And it goes on to say he gave us birth, right? The next verse, it says he chose to give us birth. Our lives come from him. And I just want to remind you, if you really want to win at life, you're going to have to get to a point where you understand that your life is a gift from above. And not only your life, but all the things that you have that you would consider gifts, they all come from God. They're blessings from above. And so I think sometimes we believe that we're responsible for those things, and it causes us to be the opposite of what we ought to be. We ought to be grateful according to what this says, and yet if we're not careful, we'll become proud and arrogant, and the next thing you know, we become self-reliant. And we don't really have anything we can rely on. It's almost like shifting sand. If you're standing on the beach and you've got the undertow and you can kind of feel it under your feet there with the waves coming and going. That's kind of the way our lives are. I look at the culture, and I'm so discouraged when I see that there's just this lack of foundation. There's a lack of appreciation. There's a lack of gratefulness, if you want to think about it. So as we go into these next couple of weeks, Easter's coming. I hope you have an appreciation for the fact that you've been given life. If you don't want to listen to this, turn it off. That's fine. But every one of you have greatness in you. And I really want to remind you not to give up on your life just because your circumstances get hard. Again, we said it last week, when things get hard, if you go back to the verses just before this, it says that it actually builds resilience in us, perseverance in us, which leads to maturity. Now, we wouldn't choose those things. That may not be the way we would choose to become mature. We even said last week, it's better to learn from the mistakes of others than to make those mistakes ourselves. But when we make mistakes, when we have hard things, or maybe it's not even a mistake, maybe it's just something we're up against that we can't control, we do have an opportunity to really grow in our perspective, our resilience, our perseverance, all those things. And we become more mature as we get older if we're wise in that. But part of that is really appreciating that our lives are a gift from above. Augustine was a saint, I don't know, a couple thousand years ago, early, I think maybe 300s. I need to look that up. Somebody look that up and put it in the comment. But he made a statement. I do know what he said. He said, the heart is restless until it rests in thee. And what he was saying basically was your heart is always going to be restless, and you're never going to find peace until you understand this verse right here, that everything that you have, that even your life itself, your birth came from above. And if you don't find peace with God, you're ultimately going to have a hard time having peace in any area of your life. Some of you right now, you're frustrated. You feel you don't have a lot of meaning in your life. You feel like you just feel hopeless and despair. And if that is true, it always because we have lost perspective on who made us and the gift that our life is. So that's one thing. That's one place we get deceived sometimes. We begin to think that the things that we have come from us, and then when we don't have what we want, where the things start shifting, we get discouraged and we lose sight. Every good and perfect gift, it says, comes from above. And so I hope you'll take some time today and be grateful, because it's really important for us to do what the Bible says, I believe, and I hope you believe that. Here's what it goes on to say. This is the second place we deceive ourselves. Here's what it says in verse 22. It says, do not merely listen to the Bible or to the word and so deceive yourselves. He's saying basically you can deceive yourself into thinking it's enough just to hear the Bible verse or to read the Bible chapter or to read the whole Bible. You can fool yourself into thinking you're good if you just read the Bible or if you just listen to it. And he says, don't merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Or in another version, he says, be doers of the word and not hearers only who fool themselves. He says, anyone who listens to the word but doesn't do what it says is like somebody who looks at his face in a mirror, and then after looking at himself, he walks away and he forgets what he looked like. But whoever looks intently into the word that gives freedom, and by the way, the truth here is what gives you freedom in your life. It's not what makes your life burdened. A lot of us feel like, man, the Bible just feels so burdensome. It actually, the principles in this book are what give us freedom and give us peace, like we talked about a moment ago. He says, but whoever looks intently into the law and that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they've heard, but doing it. Now, not looking in the mirror and forgetting it, but looking this is like our mirror right here. We get to look in this book and we realize there's places where our lives are not what they ought to be. And we realize there's places where we're doing what we should be doing. And he says, if we will continue in this book and really understand what it's saying to us, then we get blessed in what we do. And I love that fact that obedience, I'll even use that word here. When we do what God wants us to do, when we live our lives the way they're designed to be lived, we get blessing. And when we don't do that, we have conflict in our lives. And so, very different episode than we normally have, but I would just ask you today, is there a place in your life where you know what you ought to be doing and you're not doing it, or you know what you shouldn't be doing and you are doing it? You know if that's true, then you're experiencing conflict in those areas. You're experiencing frustration. You're experiencing a lack of hope. You have despair. And all those things are a result of us not doing what we should do or doing things we shouldn't do. And I just want to remind you today that blessing is available if we will just pay attention to what is true and we will walk in that truth. Your life really was designed to work that way. Augustine was right. Our hearts really are restless unless they are connected to the one who gave us life, the one who gives good and perfect gifts from above. And so don't miss out on being grateful. That might be the first place we start with. What should we do? We should be grateful. We should understand that all of our gifts come from above. And if we'll do that, blessing is not far behind. It really is true. And I can tell you from experience, so many times when I've not paid attention to the truth or I've not done what I'm supposed to do, there has been conflict in my life, and it is no fun. It is no fun when there's no peace, when we're trying to go it ourselves. And so many people right now are just trying to live their life the way they want to. Everybody just kind of doing their own thing, defining their own truth. We don't have to do that. We've been given this gift of the Bible. Again, we're just taking a couple of weeks here, looking at some of this. It's what matters to me. I'm hoping it'll encourage you. And if it does, I hope you'll share it with someone. You may know someone right now who's struggling, they're experiencing despair, they have a lack of peace. Maybe this will be an encouragement to them. That might be another way that you could, not just fool yourself into thinking, it was great to hear this, but I'm not going to do anything with it. You got somebody you probably can encourage today. I hope you'll do that. Hope you'll share with them. Leave a comment, leave a question, anything you got there, any way we can help you. If you got ideas for things that you'd love to hear us talk about on how to win at life, love to dialogue with you about that. But keep chasing greatness. There really is greatness in you. It came from above. It's not about you. I mean, God really did give you life. It says it there. I really believe it's true. Seriously, you got to believe that your life is a gift. And if you will, and you'll walk in the truth that God lays out for us, I'm just convinced your life can be so blessed. So I hope that'll be true for you this weekend. Watch the Masters. It'll be a lot of fun to watch some golf this weekend, live out some of the stuff we're learning here. And I'll see you guys next week on Chasing Greatness. We'll be back Monday with some good content to help you win at work. All right. Love you guys.